Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.
Welcome to Spectrum News within the week. I am Ofonono Joseph, coming to you live from Uyo, the Akwa Ibom state capital. Let's take a look at the top stories. Presidency defends President Bola Tinubu's policies, says criticism must be factual. Governor Omoyeno restates readiness to partner NBS for accurate state data collection. Plus, Ukraine's European allies say peace talks must include Kyiv. Stay tuned for details of these stories and more in just a moment. Good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us on the news within the week. We begin the news within the week from the national scene, where President Bola Tinubu nominated Abdullahi Ramat as Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC. A statement issued by the Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga, also announced the nomination of 2 other individuals as commissioners of the Commission. They are Abubakar Yusuf, Commissioner for Consumer Affairs, and Faud Olayinka Animashun, Commissioner for Finance and Management Services, adding that all nominations are subject to confirmation by the Senate. Reports say Ramat, aged 39, is an electrical engineer and administrator with a doctorate in strategic management, among other qualifications. Meanwhile, the presidency during the week criticized an editorial on President Bola Tinubu's policies, describing it as exaggerated, unbalanced, and a misrepresentation of the state of the nation. The special advisor to President Bola Tinubu on Media and Public Communications, Sunday Dare, in a statement, noted that while the administration welcomes constructive criticism, it must be anchored on facts, not distortion or selective pessimism. He stated that the Tinubu administration is not denying the economic challenges being faced by some Nigerians. However, it will not allow exaggerated pessimism and generalization to distort the reality. The presidential aide also dismissed claims that the school feeding program had fizzled out, insisting that over 9.8 million children in 53,000 schools continue to benefit, alongside more than 200,000 cooks and local farmers engaged nationwide. In the meantime, Vice President Kashim Shettima, in the course of the week, said that implementation of Special Agro-Industrial Processing Zones (SAPZ) will catalyze an industrial revolution in agriculture, fostering innovation and inclusive growth. Speaking through Minister of Agriculture and Food Security Abubakar Kyari at the groundbreaking in Ibadan, Oyo State, he said the initiative is a step towards positioning Nigeria as a competitive global agricultural player. Shettima noted that SAPZ is a key component of President Bola Tinubu's Renewed Hope agenda, which seeks to restore national dignity, unlock economic potential, and expand opportunities for Nigerians. He, however, highlighted the strategic collaboration between the federal government, state governments, and international development partners, including the African Development Bank, AFDB, the International Fund for Agricultural Development, IFAD, and the Islamic Development Bank, ISDB, in driving the SAPZ initiative. Away from that, Nigeria's First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, within the week, said that sustained efforts and increased domestic investment are crucial for ending tuberculosis, TB, as public health threat in Nigeria. The First Lady spoke at the inauguration of new TB molecular diagnostic machines in Abuja. She underscored the urgency to improve access to diagnostic tools and sustain momentum toward TB eradication. Represented by the wife of Kwara State Governor, Professor Olufolake Abdul Razak, the First Lady expressed satisfaction that her earlier pledge of 1 billion naira through the Renewed Hope Initiative, RHI, had materialized, with the funds used to procure and deploy new diagnostic equipment in undeserved areas across the country. She noted that the machines are expected to enhance the detection of TB cases, ensuring timely treatment and breaking the chain of transmission. In a separate development, the federal government is boosting Nigeria's automotive sector through competency-based training to produce certified quality assurance assessors under the National Skills Qualification Framework. The Director General, National Automotive Design and Development Council, Joseph Osanipin, represented by his Director, Industrial Infrastructure, Dr. Noah Omisonya, said this yesterday in Abuja. Osanipin spoke at the official closing of a 2-week quality assurance assessors training for national skills qualifications in the automotive industry organized for 30 participants in Abuja. According to the Director General, the initiative aims at equipping trainers who will ensure that automotive technicians across the country meet nationally approved skill standards. Osanipin said the training would focus on areas such as compressed natural gas conversion, maintenance of electric vehicles, and modern diagnostic techniques. Meanwhile, the Minister of State for Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, Yusuf Sununu, during the week stated that not fewer than 5 million households have received 493 billion naira disbursed by the federal government as part of its social protection measures. He said the ministry has a budget of over 500 billion naira captured under the service-wide votes for the National and Social Investment Program. The minister said the fund is expected to be deployed for the implementation of the National Homegrown School Feeding Program, conditional cash transfer, and power training and farmer money. Sununu spoke in Abuja at a briefing on sustainable response to address the humanitarian gap arising from the partial suspension of World Food Program WFP operations in the Northeast and Northwest. The minister said the funds are disbursed based on the National Social Register and reflects the report of the Multi-Dimensional Poverty Index in Nigeria. In another development, the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, yesterday asked the federal government to act on its outstanding issues to avert another strike. The union said that reactions across campuses indicated that lecturers in Nigerian public universities are not happy. In a statement issued in Abuja and signed by its president, Professor Christopher Piwuna, the union warned that morale among lecturers across the country is at an all-time low. It accused successive governments of making endless promises through multiple memoranda of understanding, MOUs, and memoranda of action, MOAs, without implementing agreed resolutions. According to ASU, Nigerian lecturers continue to work under dire conditions, teaching on empty stomachs, conducting research without access to essential journals, books, chemicals, and reagents, and struggling to meet personal and family obligations amid rising costs. The union lamented that lecturers are forced to engage with communities and agencies in rickety cars while encumbered with utility bills, children's fees, house rents, family upkeep, and a legion of other unmet responsibilities. Talking education now, the West African Examinations Council, WAEC, in the course of the week announced that it is conducting a comprehensive review of the 2025 West African Senior School Certificate Examination WASE results, following the discovery of errors and discrepancies. WAEC stated that it carried out paper serialization in mathematics, English language, biology, and economics, which revealed some technical issues in the previously released results. Recall that the Council had announced on August 4 that only 38% of candidates who took the examination this year obtained credits in 5 subjects, including English language and mathematics, sparking national outrage. A statement by WAEC's acting head of public affairs, Moyoshola Adeshino, explained that the review is meant to correct the technical glitches that led to the situation. The council also noted that with the ongoing review, result checking and viewing have been temporarily stopped on its result checking portal. Back here, Akwa Ibom State Governor Pastor Omoyano within the week said that his administration will partner with the National Bureau of Statistics (NBS) to accurately capture the gains of the Arise agenda in its drive to provide more transparent and people-centric governance. The governor stated this at the public presentation of the socio-economic impact of the Arise agenda in 2 years, anchored on the theme, Measuring Progress, Deepening Impact, which took place at the Banquet Hall, Government House, Uyo. He said the public presentation was in fulfillment of the promise he made in his inaugural speech to occasionally invite stakeholders in the political class, the media, civil society, and corporate Nigeria to present his scorecard so they may know the direction of government and how the resources have been utilized to advance the vision of the Arise agenda. The governor, who said the evaluation was a measurement for improvement, enumerated some of the achievements of the state under his leadership to include setting up of an internal evaluation team to help streamline and eliminate wastages in the procurement processes, executing audacious projects providing social services and building economically viable roads and bridges. Governor Eno appreciated President Bola Tinubu for the leadership he has provided and for ensuring that the sub-nationals have the resources to fund projects, stressing that the president deserves the people's support to continue with his laudable reforms. While reiterating that Akwa Ibom is a very peaceful state to live and invest, the governor commended the security agencies for their dedication and synergy and assured of continuous support to maintain the trajectory. Still to come in the news. Federal government spends 88 billion naira on vandalized power towers repairs. Stay tuned for details of these and more in a jiffy.
Horizon is what every living being not only genuinely desires, but heartily pursues and intentionally invests in. For in the gathering of men, only those whose minds are in tune with the dynamics of the past, present, and future innovations, inventions, politics, and governance are respected. We are Spectrum Television, and broadening your horizon is our obsession. Rescan your decoder now to connect Spectrum Television on the frequency 12589, symbol rate 26250. That is frequency 12589, symbol rate 26250. Polarization horizontal, and join our online community at spectrumtvlive.ng. For further inquiries, please call 0704 158 5642 or 0704 541 7707. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Your horizon. 105.9 FM. 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 105.
Glad to have you back. Now we conclude the rest of our news stories. Now to Africa, where President of the Democratic Republic of Congo, Felix Tshisekedi, reshuffled parts of his government on Friday in a move that has long been awaited by the population following political consultations that were launched earlier in the year. The head of state notably brought in two opposition politicians. Adolphe Muzito, a former prime minister, was named vice prime minister and will also be in charge of the budget. Meanwhile, Floribert Anzuluni, leader of a minor opposition party, was named head of regional integration. Reports say the changes could be a way for the Congolese president to consolidate his party and reach a political consensus around his figure. The next presidential election in the DRC is set for 2028. Elsewhere, Egypt and Sudan within the week discussed the Nile River and cooperation during a visit to Cairo by Sudanese Prime Minister Camille Al-Taib Idris. Egyptian President Abdel El-Sisi received the visiting Sudan official, who spoke at a joint briefing with Egyptian Prime Minister Mustafa Madboulle. Madboulle expressed complete rejection of the unilateral steps that Ethiopia is taking with regards to the Nile River. Recall that Egypt last month said Ethiopia has consistently lacked the political will to reach a binding agreement on its now complete dam, an issue that involves Nile River water rights and the interest of Egypt and Sudan. Still in Africa, Egypt's Foreign Minister Badr Abdelati has called the Israeli scheme to control the entirety of the Gaza Strip an inadmissible plan. His Turkish counterpart Hakan Fidan also noted that Israel's objective is to de-Palestinize Gaza, transforming it into a place where Palestinians do not live. The foreign minister stated this during their bilateral meeting in Egypt yesterday. Recall that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had announced that Israel would allegedly seek to control the entirety of the Gaza Strip. On the foreign scene, U.S. President Donald Trump yesterday nominated State Department spokeswoman and former journalist Tammy Bruce to be the U.S. Deputy Representative to the United Nations. In a post on his social media, Trump said that Bruce, who has been working at the U.S. State Department since he took office in January, has done a fantastic job in the role. Reports say before joining government, Bruce was a broadcast journalist for more than 20 years and has authored several books that are critical of liberals. It is unclear when she will take over the role if her nomination is confirmed by the Senate. Elsewhere, European allies have rallied behind Ukraine in a renewed surge of support, insisting that any peace talks with Russia must include Kyiv. In a joint statement issued by the leaders of the UK, France, Italy, Germany, Poland, Finland and the European Commission, the allies said the path to peace in Ukraine cannot be decided without Ukraine. Their statement came after U.S. President Donald Trump announced he would meet his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin in Alaska on Friday in a renewed effort to end the war. In the meantime, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu within the week said Israel's Security Cabinet has approved a plan to take control of Gaza City. Recall that Netanyahu had earlier said he intends to take control of all of Gaza, adding that the approved plan focuses specifically on Gaza City, the largest city in the enclave, where hundreds of thousands of people are living. Meanwhile, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer said Israel's escalation of its offensive in Gaza is wrong and will only bring more bloodshed. The escalation faces opposition in Israel, while the UN warns that Israel's expanding military operations risk catastrophic consequences for Palestinian civilians and Israeli hostages. Still on the foreign scene, Rushanara Ali during the week resigned as homelessness minister. The move comes after she was accused of hypocrisy over the way she handled rent increases on a house she owns in East London. In a letter to the Prime Minister, Rushanara noted that at all times she followed all relevant legal requirements, but the remaining role would be a distraction from the ambitious work of the government. Responding to her resignation, Prime Minister Keir Starmer thanked Rushanara for her work, which she described as diligent. On our business news, the transmission company of Nigeria, TCN, within the week disclosed that a sum of 88 billion naira was spent by the federal government on the repair and restoration of power transmission facilities vandalized across the country from 2021 to date. The TCN Principal Manager, Lines, Lagos Region, Sheyi Onabajo, disclosed this at a one-day sensitization program held at the Odoguyon 132 kilovolts transmission substation, Ikorodu, Lagos State. According to Onabajo, the activities of vandals have hampered the efforts of the TCN in ensuring that every community across the country has an electricity supply. He added that all these considerations necessitate the agency's involvement in a sensitization exercise by engaging relevant stakeholders to curb the menace. Meanwhile, the federal government during the week gazetted 21 new regulations for Nigeria's oil and gas upstream sector in a sweeping move to unlock investment, streamline operations, and align industry practices with both national and global priorities. The Commission Chief Executive of the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, Gbenga Komolafe, made this known while delivering a goodwill address at the 48th edition of the Society of Petroleum Engineers Nigeria Annual International Conference and Exhibition held in Lagos. According to Komolafe, the new regulatory frameworks developed under the Petroleum Industry Act 2021 are designed to offer clarity, attract capital, and promote accountability across exploration and production operations. Among the regulations highlighted by the NUPRC boss are the Upstream Petroleum Measurement Regulations, which promote transparency and accountability through technological deployment for accurate production tracking, the gas flaring, venting and methane emissions regulations aimed at reducing emissions and enforcing decarbonization. Still in business, the National Publicity Secretary of the Petroleum Products and Retail Owners Association of Nigeria, Joseph Obele, in the course of the week, disagreed with the decision of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited to rule out the sale of the Port Harcourt refinery. Obele stated that the comment by the Group Chief Executive Officer of the NNPC, Bayo Ojolare, that the refinery would not be privatized was not good news, saying plans to keep the Port Harcourt refinery under NNPC management are concerning. According to him, private terms tend to prioritize the interest of host communities, unlike government-owned firms. Obele stated that the NNPC had consistently failed to meet Nigerians' expectations in its management of government-owned refineries. Still to come in the news, The Tigers unveils final 12-man squad in FIBA AfroBasket 2025. Stay tuned for details of these and more. Welcome back. Thank you so much for sticking with us. Now we conclude the rest of our news stories. In health, the Director General of the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, within the week stated that genetically modified organisms known as GMOs, particularly in food, are not harmful to human health, provided that safety protocols are followed. Speaking on the safety of GMOs in an interview, Adeyeye emphasized that the type of food and the safety considerations taken are critical factors in determining their safety. Adeyeye noted that the National Biosafety Management Agency is the primary body responsible for ensuring the safety of GMO foods in Nigeria, and NAFDAC is working closely with them to ensure that. Elsewhere, senior medical, economic and budget planning experts during the week raised concerns over a $27.4 million funding gap threatening access to contraceptive commodities in Nigeria, warning that the shortfall could reverse gains made in family planning and reproductive health services across the country. The experts said the deficit in funding has left millions of women of reproductive age without access to essential contraceptive options, increasing the risk of unintended pregnancies and unsafe abortions. They called on the government to prioritize investment in family planning, stressing that bridging the funding gap is critical to reducing maternal mortality, achieving national population goals, and improving the overall health of women and families in Nigeria. Still in health, public health experts in the course of the week outlined strategic interventions to reduce the burden and fatality rate of non-communicable diseases in Nigeria, calling for an urgent multi-sectoral approach and policy reforms. They emphasized the importance of prevention, lifestyle modifications, and improved access to primary health care as key tools to tackle the rising threat of conditions such as hypertension, diabetes, cancer, and cardiovascular diseases. The experts made the call at a one-day capacity-building workshop for journalists. They also raised fresh concerns over the rising threat of NCDs in Nigeria, warning that related deaths could escalate if urgent preventive actions are not taken. Now to sports, where Nigeria's The Tigers' final 12-man squad for this year's FIBA Afrobasket tournament has been unveiled. The final squad was published yesterday on the team's X handle. The 12 players who made the final shortlist are Josh Okoje, Caleb Agada, Ike Nwamu, Kaodirichi Akobundu Ehiogu, Talib Zana, Stan Okoye, and Mike Nuga. Others are Davin Eke, Christian Mekowulu, Martins Igbanu, Ugo Simon, and Emmanuel Omogbo. This year's tournament, which will hold in Angola, will begin on August 12 and end August 24. The Nigerian team will begin their campaign on August 13 against Madagascar. On August 15, they will face Tunisia before rounding off the group stage with a clash against Cameroon on August 17. Meanwhile, Arsenal rounded off their preparations for the 2025-2026 campaign with a 3-0 thumping of Athletic Bilbao in the Emirates Cup on Saturday. The Gunners were looking to bounce back from consecutive defeats to Tottenham Hotspur and Villarreal in previous pre-season fixtures. They began the game in quick fashion with Victor Gyökeres and Bukayo Saka giving them a 2-goal lead in the first half. Kai Havertz, who was back among the substitutes following a slight injury, came off the bench to score a third with a solo run and finish. Arsenal will kick off their Premier League season next Sunday with a heavyweight clash against Manchester United. Still in sports, Ima Raducanu brushed aside Olga Danilovic at the Cincinnati Open to make a confident start with her new coach. The British #1 has added Rafael Nadal's former coach, Francis Roig, to her team on a full-time basis as she prepares for the upcoming US Open. The surprise 2021 champion in New York cruised to a 6-3, 6-2 win in her first match since the Spaniard came aboard. Danilovic beat British number 3 Katie Bolter in the first round. In the second set, Raducanu, 22, drew errors from her 24-year-old opponent and earned a break for 3-2. On our entertainment news, socialite and entrepreneur Cubana Chief Priest has been denied a visa to the U.S. and is set to miss the wedding of Nigerian Afrobeat superstar Davido. Cubana Chief Priest took to his Instagram page to explain why he will be absent at the event on Saturday. He used the opportunity to plead with the Nigerian government for assistance in securing a visa to America. Lastly in the news, popular Nigerian musician Mr. Easy within the week wedded billionaire daughter Temi Otedola in Iceland. The couple reportedly held their white wedding on Friday, August 8, 2025 at Iceland Economic Hall, Grímskirkja Church. Mr. Easy exchanged vows with Temi in the presence of their close family members and friends. Other public figures at the private ceremony were Africa's richest businessman, Aliko Dangote, Brother Shaggy, among others. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on our social media handles and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtvlive.ng. You have been watching Spectrum News within the week. I am Ofonono Joseph. Thank you so much for staying tuned. Happy Sunday.
Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.